What is going on, everybody? Tommy here with another quick video on mesh counts. I did a video last week on basic things that you'll need, but if you're just starting out and you're ready to screen print, I'm going to talk about mesh counts. I get a lot of questions on what is my best mesh, or which is my best. Each job is going to have its best screen to use, so it's a really hard question to answer, because if you're putting a lot of detail, there's a certain screen for that. But let me explain what a mesh count is. It is threads per inch. So let me just draw it on this board, right? You got a square inch here. I don't know if you can see that. You have a square inch, right? And this is a 110 mesh, and this is a 305 mesh. This is the full screen, I guess you could say. So a 110 would be like, you got your mesh count this way, right? Right, you see the gaps there? They're bigger. 305 would be like, you got your, your threads. You have a lot more threads in there, right? That's basically what a mesh count is. The lower the count, the bigger the squares. The higher, the smaller the squares, right? A ton more. So keeping that in mind, depending on what you're printing, there's a certain mesh for that. If you're printing, let's just kind of go over, you got your 40s through your 80s. That's if you're printing glitters, high densities, shimmers. But keep in mind that also leaves a thick deposit of ink down. So depending, like I said, this is all, I cannot give you a special answer for what you need to use, because everybody prints different. But I'm just gonna go over kind of what they're used for. 110s are your, pretty much is what everybody starts off with in screen printing. It's kind of your do-it-all mesh to a point. It leaves high opacity. It's a good general screen to start off with if you're just beginning screen printing. I would go with 110s. 160s are, you kind of got a little bit more detail than, like 110s would, you can say, are more for fonts, clip art, stuff like that. 160s, 156, 160s are stuff with a little bit more detail than that, and it's going to lay down just a little bit less ink. So as you go on more and more detail, you need to go higher in meshes. 200s to 240s, 250s, 260s, whatever it is. You got a lot more detail. And my screens that I use all the time is a 230 mesh. I do a lot of halftones. I do a lot of more detailed stuff, simulated process. So I use, and I do water base. So 230s work fine for me. That's what I'm used to. That's what works for me. And then you got up to 305, which would be used for super fine details. You're looking at CMYK printing, some simulated process. I've never done 305 meshes. I've never done more than 255. I stay between 230 and 255 for my usual prints. If I'm doing under bases, I'll use a 160 or 180 depending on the color of shirt and how thick I want it. So mesh counts, if you're just beginning, my advice would be to start a 110 or 160, kind of as your general screens for everything. And as you learn and you get printing down more and more, then you go up in meshes and get more detail on that. So that's just my quick take on it. Again, keep in mind, let me show you, let me get this right quick. It's kind of hard to understand, because the lower the mesh, the more ink. The higher the mesh, the less ink. So keep that in mind. And then also, lower mesh is lower detail. Higher mesh is higher detail. So that's just how I remember it. And it took me a little bit once I started printing, but if you're just beginning screen printing and you kind of don't know where to begin, I would stick to the 110s and 160s. That'll help you get your emulsion times down, how to coat screens. That's kind of like your basic starter one. So if you have any questions more on this, give me a put it in the comments below, and I'll answer it as best as soon as I can. If you have a question about a specific graphic of what I would use, feel free to send it to me. HOB@hobapparel.com. send me the graphic, even if it's a JPEG. Send me the graphic and I'll give you my advice on it, or I may even break it down in a video to show you why and how it works. So, you know, that's the video of the day. Like I said, if you're new to screen printing and want to learn more, make sure you hit subscribe, and I will be putting more videos on it. Vinyl, graphics, decals, whatever. Like I said, give me a thumbs up and I'll catch you on the next video.